Welcome everybody to Hope for Our Times, and I have one of my favorite guests is joining us today. Haven't been able to do anything with him in a while, so this is pretty cool to have him. I have him here on Hope for Our Times. Britt Gillette is here with us from End Times Bible Prophecy. Britt, thank you for joining us. This is going to be a terrific time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's always great to be here and talk to you, Tom.
I love the things that you bring to the table, and congratulations on now being in ministry full time for a year, and that is very cool.
Thanks. God has definitely blessed us. It's been all His work.
Amen. Amen. And it comes with challenges, and it comes with blessings, and most of the blessings I'm pretty sure are going to be when we get to heaven. All right, I just want to jump right into things. I've loved reading your material for years, as you know, well before we ever met. I was reading things that you had written and very insightful and helpful to be able to connect the dots. I also appreciate that you bring the Bible into your conversations and to help people really understand what's going on, what does the Bible have to say. But I want to go into, let's just start with Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is building, perhaps, is he building a Revelation chapter 13 world? You've done a little bit of work on this.
Yeah, I think absolutely he is. I don't think that Elon Musk is the Antichrist, but I believe that he's putting the systems in place that could potentially be used by the Antichrist to control the world. And it's interesting because when you look back at comments that Elon made back in, I believe it was 2014, about artificial intelligence, he said we were summoning the demon. And he likened it to a movie where someone thinks they can control the demon and they find out otherwise. And I think that Elon may find himself in the same situation where he constructs this he puts together this infrastructure that's one day used by someone to rule over the earth, and Elon may find himself on the outside at that point. But we're seeing all of these different things put together, from the Starlink satellite system. There's been talk this year about launching 1 million satellites into orbit so they could have solar-powered data centers in space. He's one of the leaders in developing AI models with XAI and Grok. And then Neuralink. I think Neuralink is something that people are underestimating. So so far this year, they've talked about rolling out, putting it into mass production, right? So for those that don't know, Neuralink is this brain-computer interface that was supposedly developed to help those who are paralyzed regain use of their limbs, those who are blind regain use of their sight. And when they first rolled out announced that FDA testing would take place on this several years ago, the news story at the very bottom had this odd retort from Elon Musk that just got no play in the media and still hasn't. And he said, and I'm going to get one too, right? And this sort of just flew under the radar, and I thought, well, that's odd, because I'm not aware that Elon Musk is paralyzed or blind. Why is he going to get one? And they had a recent news story just a few weeks ago by the debrief on the rollout of the mass production of this. And they said this will, we need to ask ourselves the questions of what this means for the state of our society. This could one day become a part of our consumer lifestyle, right? And again, why would they talk that way if the goal of Neuralink is only to repair the natural God-given abilities of people who have lost those God-given abilities? And the only reason is if there's a transhumanist agenda for human beings to adopt these brain-computer interfaces en masse. And if you look at the reason that Elon Musk developed Neuralink, that's what the goal is. So Walter Isaacson wrote a biography in 2023 on Elon Musk, and he recounts the story of Elon typing out a text to someone on his phone, and he thought to himself, this is too slow. I wish I could just think it onto the screen. And right then and there, he tasks the individuals around him with coming up with the beginnings of Neuralink. So as he said several years ago, I'm going to get one too. So his goal is to connect his brain with technology, advanced technology. And there, he is not alone in thinking that way. I think it's the predominant view in Silicon Valley. And this has huge implications for what the Bible has to say about the end times, because if we go to Matthew 24, verse 22, Jesus says, unless those days are shortened, no flesh would survive. And if we look at the original language, the Greek word used is sarx, which means flesh on bone. It doesn't mean, 30 years ago when I started studying the Bible and Bible prophecy, people thought, oh, well, that means that humanity is going to annihilate itself with nuclear weapons unless Jesus comes back and says, stop, puts an end to it all. But I think more and more we're seeing with this transhumanist agenda that there are people who are openly stating human beings will be software based. Human beings won't need these clunky biological bodies anymore. And the predictions for that are not far away. We're not talking hundreds of years into the future. We're talking a decade.
Wow.
So this is something everyone should be taking notice of. So all of these different advanced technologies that Elon Musk is developing and promoting and putting into our world are the very things you would expect to see in an end times world, the very technologies that enable the things we read about in Revelation chapter 13.
So I want to come back to that in a minute with Revelation 13 and the mark of the beast, because I want to talk about in a minute, I want to talk about the fact that people are being prepared, they're being conditioned, and the willingness that people are going to have to be able to receive the mark of the beast, and the reason why it's going to play on emotions, and it's going to really draw people in for various reasons. And so I want to point out the various reasons, or at least discuss them with you in a minute. But let me ask you this before we go there. When you look at Elon Musk and you start thinking of Sam Altman and these other technocrats, and there's a lot of them, and they're very wealthy. It's not a coincidence also that it just happens to be this generation, while all things are lining up biblically, that God is the one who has given these people the ability to be able to create the things they have done. I would say to also be super billionaires in a class that we've never even imagined 30 years ago. Never even could have fathomed the amount of money to make. But because of all the money they have, they invest in ways that governments never could or never would. And they also have a mind. And so it's not a coincidence that all of this is coming about at the same time. But with all of these different thoughts, the things you're talking about in these different technocrats, I've been under the impression overall, none of them, or maybe there's a couple of them, but I think they think they're doing something great for humanity. Maybe like Elon saying this could be a Frankenstein we're creating, but overall, they probably think they're doing something good, not creating this Antichrist system. Maybe a couple of them are thinking that. I mean, Peter Thiel said something like that, but I don't think they have quite the understanding to say, well, we're on board with Satan and we want to work out his plan. I don't think that's what their thought is, although it'll be used that way.
Sure, yeah. I think they honestly believe this is the correct path for humanity. This is the way to go. This is what you would believe if you were godless. And Silicon Valley is godless. And so they look at you've got a bunch of people that believe in monkeys to man evolution, and they think this is the next step in the evolutionary process, is to become post-human, to transcend our biological bodies and merge with technology. If you read Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near, The Singularity is Near, he talks exactly about that. And he even says, we will, once we utilize the resources of this Earth, we will move out into the solar system, out into our galaxy, and infuse dumb matter with our intelligence. So he's assuming that the universe is filled with dumb matter, that it's not already infused with intelligence, because he does not believe in the God of the Bible. But that puts him in direct conflict, not just a spiritual rebellion against God, but an actual physical rebellion against God. That's where all of this is headed. This is where transhumanism is headed. So I think they think that they're doing the right things. And it's very, very interesting because you look at some of their comments, it shows that they really don't understand it, because when they look at the potential benefits and the potential pitfalls, they'll say, well, look at these benefits. We'll have an abundance. No one will go without. And you think, well, we have the ability now for there to be an abundance. Through capitalism, we've had that ability. Some people have it, some people don't. Look at North Korea, look at South Korea. Same people, or at least used to be the same people. But one set of people have freedom and the other do not. And that leads to a different daily life. And so it's not a matter of a lack of technology that these things aren't available, these benefits aren't available. It's due to human nature and this desire to lord over your fellow man. And when they talk about potential pitfalls, it always falls back on, well, the AI is going to turn against us and decide that it doesn't need humanity. And even though they're advocating for transhumanism, they never stop to think, well, what if the real concern should be a human being merged with the AI, right? So, and maybe one or more human beings using the AI to enslave the rest of humanity. That hardly ever gets talked about anywhere. It's outside of our circles. Nobody talks about it because we've read the Bible and we know what happens, right? So, but I don't understand why they don't make that connection other than just a spiritual blindness to look at history, when technologies have come out and how they're used to oppress the people who aren't in possession of that technology by the people who do have that technology. And ultimately, I believe that's what's coming. That's what the Bible tells us is coming.
So when I look at it and thinking, okay, this technology is here, I've been under the impression that the technology has actually been around for a long time, but what's being released to the public has already been going on in labs and back rooms for a while, and now these things are released to us. You would know more about that than me, but would you say that's correct?
No, I think certainly people have been thinking about these things for a long, long time and understanding what things are coming. I think when it comes to certain AI models that are released to the public, what with the free Chat GPT or the free Claude AI that people are using is from many months ago. If you get one of the subscriber packages, you're getting more updated versions. I would believe that the government, again, is going to take and classify. I mean, we've seen recently Anthropic and the United States, the Trump administration wrestling over what Anthropic will and won't do. And so we see certainly governments are going to seize these technologies for their own use, and they're going to put certain things behind in classified areas. But I think that the idea that the technologies that we're on the cusp of have always been around is not true, because once those technologies are created, they will be used to conquer the world and establish a global empire. And so until that happens, we won't see that.
Yeah, I think of the Bible reminding us that when you have a righteous leader, the people are blessed. When you have an unrighteous leader, the people are oppressed. And so we look at this, it's going to get into the hands of one individual, but one of the dynamics that I see is bringing the technology under one umbrella, or because in order to implement the mark of the beast, there has to be, the Antichrist is going to be at the top of this system. So, and he's going to have his henchmen on the side, the false prophets. So in order to do that right now, like if we just go back to the time of COVID and people needing a passport to get into certain places, systems didn't talk to each other. A lot of it was just on a piece of paper, and you could fake a passport, and the systems didn't talk to each other. Medical organizations didn't communicate with each other. It was this medical organization worked for that one, but this one, so, but I see a similar problem with technology because you have these different systems that are built that are not yet under one umbrella, although they're advancing very fast. Is that an assessment that would be correct, that they have to get under one umbrella? And if so, how far away is that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that would ultimately happen in order to control the whole world, but it's not as far away or as difficult to implement as many people think with the exponential advance of technology. And we've seen how we've seen instances where two different AI models can communicate with each other in their own language. And so this communication across systems is not going to be hindered by language barriers. It's only going to be hindered by access. And we see these databases being built right before our eyes, right under our noses. So for instance, if you take a flight in the United States, odds are they're going to scan your face. And a little over a year ago, it was very interesting, we had Ted Cruz and Elizabeth Warren in total agreement saying this is going to create a global traveler database. This should be done away with. So you got two people that rarely agree on anything. That alone should have been big news.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yet, despite their opposition to it, we still have it. And not only that, they at the time they said, "Oh well, don't worry about it. We delete these photos as soon as they're taken." And they always say those things, and then later they come back and say, "Well, no, we said we intended to, or we might. We didn't say we would." So now, fast forward a year ahead, the TSA openly states, "Oh, well, we keep facial recognition scans for up to 75 years. They're stored."
75.
And they announced at the end of last year, effective at the end of 2025, certain travelers are required to give over their DNA. Not just their retinal scans, their facial scans, their fingerprints, but possibly their DNA. And they go, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's only a handful of foreign travelers into the United States that meet these specific criteria." And people go, "Oh, yeah, that's right. We want safety. We want security. We want to make sure the terrorists aren't coming in." But it doesn't occur to people in the United States, well, what if I travel to, say, Europe? Are they going to require the same thing of me? And we see proposals in the United States for, well, we should require foreign travelers to hand over their social media logins and passwords. And so this gets more and more invasive. It's that we see this incrementalism roll out, and it's like the proverbial frog in boiling water. People think, "Oh, well, this is just this small issue that only affects these people over here. It doesn't affect me," or it would be really inconvenient for me to bypass this, so I'll just do it. I'll go along with it. And next thing you know, you're stuck in this system from which there's really no escape. Because essentially we're seeing that digital ID traveler database built all around the globe right now, right under our noses. And most people aren't raising any sort of opposition to it.
I would think also all of the lawlessness and the wars and rumors of wars and terrorist attack and just going right on down the list will lead people to the point of saying, "Hey, this is a really good idea because now the bad guys can be tracked and we can be kept safe and people will surrender their freedoms." I want to come back to this in a minute, but just remind everybody to please, if you would like, subscribe and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to this channel. It helps us to be able to get the truth out there and combat the lies, because the lies are everywhere. Combat the lies with the truth, and also give people the warnings that are necessary. So if you would, we'd appreciate here at Hope for Our Times if you'd like, subscribe, and share. And also, if you would follow Britt Gillette, you can check him out at the website that you see there, brittgillette.substack.com. and he also does videos. And if you would, I know you're blessed by him many ways, but if you don't follow him yet, please do. And we'd really appreciate it. It helps us again to combat the lies with the truth. All right, Britt, let's go to the freedoms, but I still have a couple more questions I got to ask. So I do see this is being, the people are going to say, protect us from all of the bad things that are happening. Because in the last days you have a paradox. You have lawlessness abounds, as Jesus says, but Antichrist also gets control on things. So you have both of these things working together, but it appears when you look at the Bible for the tribulation period, the lawlessness is abounding before Antichrist gets his power. What are your thoughts as you look at these dynamics and with the implementation of technology?
Sure. Yeah, I think that you make a good point. People are going to say, protect us. We will willingly submit ourselves to these systems out of the idea of safety. And I think the same thing is coming in the economic realm as well. So we're seeing instances now in the private credit markets within the global economy where certain institutions, certain businesses pledged the same collateral to two or more institutions in order to get a loan, and now they can't pay that back, and this is being discovered. And I think we're going to, when we have the next great financial crisis, because it is coming, we see so much fragility in the financial markets. When that happens, they will sell the idea of digital currencies as a protection measure. They'll say we need 21st century regulation for a 21st century financial system. We need to know if we had central bank digital currency, or we had stable coins as the basis for this system, we would have known that those bad actors did those things. Think about Bernie Madoff back during the great financial crisis. He was exposed as, up to that point, running the largest Ponzi scheme that had ever been known. So all these investors gave their hard-earned life savings to Bernie Madoff, and he was just running a Ponzi scheme. Well, outside of corruption, right, which will still happen, but that would be impossible with central bank digital currencies, stablecoins, tokenized assets. A regulator would be able to say, well, we saw that Bernie received this cash and he bought a private jet, 4 houses around the world, right? He did not go and buy investment securities as he promised those that invested with him. That's how they'll sell it. And they'll say, this will protect you from something like that happening again. And so this idea that people will be safe, that they'll be protected, is really how they're going to roll all of this out, along with convenience, because we see how they do that left and right. Hey, if you want to get on the plane really quickly, come over here, we'll scan your face, you get right on. But if you don't, we're going to put you in a line for 4 hours. And then people go, I've really got to get where I'm going, scan my face, right? And so that happens.
It does. I mean, you can easily see how, oh, I can even get better than that. Just a mark here, and I can just walk through a store. I can mark here or my forehead. I don't have to do anything. I don't need a passport anymore. I don't need to carry anything. This is fantastic. People are definitely being prepared for what is coming. I can't help but think, as Solomon wrote, the fear of man is a trap. And whoever controls the fear can control the masses of the people. And that's the direction we're going, whether it be fear of losing everything in your bank account, fear of economic collapse, or in an economic collapse going, please save us. Somebody's got to save us from this, which I think it's a combination of these things that will give rise to the one who the Bible describes as the beast or Antichrist. Real quick, listen, if you want to keep up with us, go to hopeforOurTimes.com and check out the events page, because we have been all over the country already. We're going to continue to be, Lord willing, through the rest of this year. Of course, we always wait and see what's going to happen tomorrow. And But check out the events page at hopeforourtimes.com. We'll also be in Mexico coming up in June, assuming that we're allowed to travel to Mexico at that time. But check out everything. We may be in your area. All right. So, Britt, Antichrist comes on the scene. And you mentioned transhumanism earlier, and Neuralink. And so as I see someone like Antichrist, when I read my Bible, I believe that Antichrist will appear omniscient, meaning all-knowing for our viewers, omnipotent, all-powerful, omnipresent, going to appear to be everywhere. When I look at technology, something like that would cause him to appear that way. Do you think, not that Neuralink is necessarily it, but that Antichrist will be augmented in such a way? And plus, he has to be at the top of the food chain. Out of the entire planet, he has to be numero uno. And I would even imagine he could come on the scene and appear to be present himself as an alien with all the alien stuff that we talk about. He has to be somebody that is completely different from everybody else, that causes people to say, wow, this must be the Messiah, when he's a false Messiah, the false Messiah.
Right. I think it's increasingly likely that that's exactly what happens, that whoever the Antichrist is the one who maintains control, who seizes control of all of this infrastructure that we're seeing built right now, uses some sort of brain-computer interface and a combination of that and AI in order to control all of these systems. And just as you said, to a godless world, he will have all these characteristics that philosophically are attributed to God. And so the Bible tells us that the people of this world, all whose names were not written in the Lamb's Book of Life, will worship him. That means they will see him as their God. And so that's why, in the past, a lot of people have been afraid that, well, is this technology the mark of the beast? I don't want to unintentionally take the mark of the beast. You can't unintentionally or by accident take the mark of the beast. It's a conscious decision to worship the Antichrist and to reject Jesus Christ. So no one needs to worry about that, especially on this side of the tribulation. If you're a born-again Christian, the rapture of the church, I believe, takes place before the tribulation. So we won't be here to see that mark of the beast. But if somebody's watching this on the other side and is examining these things, that you do not want to take the mark of the beast. That is, you can't recover from that. Mm-hmm. That's what the Bible tells us.
Well, speaking of the mark of the beast, we have this shirt. It's I need to send you one, Britt. On the front it says, "Are you ready for what's coming?" And then on the back is a QR code. And so if somebody's got their phone, they're behind you, and they scan it. It pulls up Bible verses for such as the Jesus saying, "Watch. Therefore, you do not know the hour when the Son of Man comes." And then also, we always include the gospel. There's no other name under heaven which you can be saved. So people are behind you. They can scan and go, oh boy. And hopefully, who knows, maybe people come to Christ.
That is a fantastic idea. I've been telling people we've never lived in a better time to be able to evangelize to other people because of all these things that we see happening. We should be asking people their opinion on these subjects, because many people find it very difficult to share their faith. But the best way to do that, you can ask strangers, what do you think about this? Did you hear they're saying we may not be able to use this cash you just spent at Starbucks? They want to have stable coins. And what do you think of that? And get their opinion, then say, did you know the Bible foretold this almost 2,000 years ago in the book of Revelation? What do you think of that? Even if people cut the conversation off at that point, you've planted a seed, and it's essential that we plant seeds. Others can water those seeds. God will take care of the rest of the process, right? But we need to be planting seeds, talking to people.
I mean, it is interesting with technology how you can actually plant a seed so easily, because everybody's watching what you're talking about. I mean, they can tell something with technology, And right now, most people like it, but you're able to plant those seeds, and QR codes on a shirt can plant a seed. It's using the understanding of the dynamics of the world that we have right now to be able to plant seeds, and some water, some plant seeds. It's amazing to be alive right now. With the image of the beast, I have a few more questions to ask you. I know these weren't necessarily on the docket to ask you, but it's an interesting conversation. With the image of the beast, let me ask you this. When we look at AI technology, it's getting to a point where people can't tell fake from real. So when the image of the beast comes, the false prophet requires everybody to worship the beast and or his image, and to receive the mark on the right hand or forehead. So if the image in the image of the beast is given breath, so to appear to come to life. When we look, and it's not the breath of God, by the way, it's the devil does this. So when you see this, though, with the image of the beast, it has to be something that's going to cause people to say, this isn't just AI, because right now you can create a lot of things when people go, oh, that's just AI. I'm not sure if it's fake video or real video. And this just now, 6 months from now, by the time we get to the end of 2026, where's this going to be? So when I think of the image of the beast, have you thought through that? What could it possibly be that causes it to be so much different from what people are just going to say it's just AI, whatever? It has to be something profound.
Yeah, well, it could be a hologram. It could be some sort of technology similar to that. I really don't know, but we can see where this trajectory is going. And I would point out that while some people can look at, say, a video and say, well, the guy in that video has 8 fingers, it was AI created, and some of that stuff's getting better. There are countless people that think that AI is sentient based on conversations they're having with AI, which I would tell people, stay away from that whole realm. Not AI itself. AI is a tool. It's a computer algorithm. If you want to use it to outline a term paper or for enhanced search and research, fine. Don't start talking to it like it's a person. Don't get AI afterlife products where you can talk to your deceased loved ones. That's forbidden practice from Deuteronomy 18, Leviticus. But many people cannot tell the difference. And there are people that have fallen in love with their AI and have proposed marriage to their AI. And they have AI companions. And they think, this AI is alive, it's conscious, it's sentient. Some call it demon possessed. But it's a sophisticated algorithm that counterfeits and mimics conversations that human beings would have. And so it's so good at doing that, people cannot tell the difference. And so again, imagine what we were talking about before, where you have an Antichrist with a brain-computer interface who's sitting at the top of this global AI advanced technology network, who could create hologram images of himself. Just think of where every judge in the world sits today. The Antichrist could sit in that same chair and judge the nations. And in a world where we're coming to, because we haven't even talked about certain things like molecular manufacturing, which will lead to a massive abundance of inexpensively made products. We have talked before about things like smart dust and cameras and microphones that proliferate across the world like dust would. All that information being gathered, being sifted through and analyzed by AI. And imagine you've got one man at the top of that who can say, well, I can handle this dispute because I was there, right? What did you say before? You will appear omnipresent. I was there. I saw what you did when no one else was looking, and settled the dispute, so to speak. So you could have this all over the world where look at Moses and the problems he had. I can't handle all these problems. Well, appoint certain men from among you, right, to go out and do that. Well, the Antichrist could use these tools to handle all of those disputes and appear to be godlike to the entire world. And so whatever technology is used to project that image, I'm not sure. I don't know that we can really foresee that now because of this exponential advance of technology. But it obviously is going to be extremely powerful. We already can begin to see how people can be led to believe that something is something that it is not. Because again, AI is a computer algorithm, very sophisticated, but there are many people that think it's sentient, that it's a being. And so that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, I think of this when AI is ultimately it's human information that's given to us, so it's going to know how to respond in certain conversations that people will think this is real, sentient, and all of it. And I also can't help but think how emotionally unstable we now know many people are. I think they've been made extra emotionally unstable through certain events that have happened, things that have come up that they're being taught now in schools. I think it's a plan. But it's so easy for them to get hooked because they can't have a relationship. They have a difficult time with relationships in general, social issues. Hence, AI just feeds right into that. All of a sudden, they have someone they can talk to that they will start to think is real. So we are definitely being conditioned. So let me ask you about this for just the last few minutes that we have together, about the masses of people being conditioned. So going back to earlier in the conversation, mark of the beast, you cannot buy or sell unless you worship this image and receive the mark of the beast on your right hand and forehead. Okay, so you take the world, the rapture's happened, we're gone, and all of a sudden this person appears to have all these answers, and you have a child that is sick, and you're thinking, okay, I want my child to have this medical care. Or you can take it a step further. My 12-year-old was in a car accident and they're suddenly paralyzed from the waist down. And the technology is available, whether through Neuralink or something else, because they have cancer, and you start talking with the medical department, they say, just come on down here. A 1 hour visit and your child will be walking again. Oh, we can cure the cancer in 20 minutes. What kind of parent is going to be able to resist something like that? And I don't think that a lot of people have thought this part through yet. How could you love your child? Your child's going to die if they don't get this cancer treatment, but they can be healed in 20 minutes just with one little thing, or they'll be able to walk again. And to be able to resist something like that is going to be unbelievably difficult. And do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I mean, and unless you understand the Bible, unless you're a believer in the Bible, why would you? So again, we talked about from Silicon Valley's perspective, they believe in monkeys to man evolution. So the next logical step is we're going to transcend our biological bodies. That's the next step in the process. So if you're looking at a world where you're told to take this mark on your right hand or your forehead and you get all these great benefits, and there's huge downsides to not taking it, unless you understand what the real downside to taking it is, why wouldn't you take it? Most people will. Most people will accept it. And that's why we read about in the book of Revelation, angels go around the earth proclaiming and telling people not to take the mark of the beast and what it means for their eternity to do that. So, because it will be, as you said, this presented in such a way that it will be almost irresistible for most people at that time. So only those who are understanding, the Bible tells us only those whose names are not written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Everybody else takes the mark of the beast in the tribulation. So it's only born again Christians that don't. And so that tells you how irresistible it is to the rest of the world. So someone that, say, rejects God, but really believes in privacy and limited government, right, is not going to hold out and not take the mark of the beast. So really, there's just two camps: those who worship Antichrist and those who worship Jesus Christ when we get to the end of the tribulation.
It's been well said. If you can't live for Jesus Christ now, what makes you think you're going to be able to die for Jesus Christ then during the tribulation period? Because that is the direction it's going. I encourage people, listen, the Bible is true, and it gives us the prophecy, so not so we will be afraid. That's what man wants, so you'll submit to his system, but so you'll understand, oh wait, the Bible warned us ahead of time, so we can look to Jesus for the hope of salvation and understanding that he has an eternal kingdom that is prepared for us. Britt, let me ask you this. Well, before the last question, I just want to remind you all, make sure you go to Britt's website, brittgillette.substack.com. Check out everything that he has. I promise you, as you could tell today, it was a great time with Britt. He is a wealth of knowledge and information, and being able to connect all of these things with the Bible, because bottom line, if we can't connect them with the Bible, then it's just information, it's just entertainment. But we got to be able to understand what the Bible does say in all of these things. All right, Britt, last question for you. What makes our generation different when compared to past generations when we think of the end times prophecies?
Oh, wow. Well, we need another couple hours on that one.
All right, let's see if you can do it in
really
a nutshell,
quickly.
and we'll do that on another program. We'll do a
so
full
for instance,
thing.
the existence of the nation state of Israel. So this is something that people take for granted because it's been around since 1948. For most of us, that's our entire lifetimes. But for 93% of Christian history, there was no nation state of Israel. So there's one for you right there that people completely overlook. How about the Jewish people in control of Jerusalem? Again, for 94% of Christian history, that was not the case, but it has been since 1967. Again, because it's been over 50 years, people think, oh, this is always, tell me something new, right? People want to hear something new every day. Look at the gospel being preached all over the earth. And we're not to the point where every single person has heard it, but we're getting pretty close. And when you think about carpenter from the outskirts of the mighty Roman Empire in a forgotten about province with some fishermen and tax collectors as followers who said, my message will go out to the whole earth. The people who heard him say that didn't know whole continents existed at that time. And now, just as he said it would, we see it going out across the earth. We see the good news being preached in all the nations. So we have all of these signs that Jesus and the prophets pointed to, and Jesus himself said, when you begin to see all these things take place, I am right at the door. He didn't say, well, a century or two might go by, or if the world does this and repents, I won't come back. No, he said, I'm right at the door when you see these things. And we see all of these things, so many countless signs. These technologies, again, when you have people saying, well, human beings will be software based before the middle of this century, there will be no flesh left. These are respectable, successful people in Silicon Valley making those very claims. And most people don't realize any of this is happening. And we are on the verge of seeing technologies that make global empire not just possible, but they necessitate it. Meaning when those technologies are created, we will have global empire. All of these things are right out of the Bible. The Bible foretold all of these things. Again, the system, outside of the supernatural, the mark of the beast system we read about in Revelation 13 was impossible to implement prior to right now. So, I mean, again, we could spend hours talking about these things, but there's so many different things that no other generation saw that we see in our day and time. And it all points to, Jesus says it points to the number one sign of his coming, which is the convergence of all of the signs he and the prophets told us about. And we see that in our day and time.
Amen. Britt, thank you for joining us. And that was a great program. And it is, again, a reminder when we think of the Bible prophecies regarding the second coming of Christ, it's a reminder that we can trust all of the prophecies that are in the Bible. Every single one of them, the past has been fulfilled. Jesus came the first time that we would be forgiven of our sins. Prophecy is God's signature that his word is true. And I'd encourage you, if you don't know Christ, ask him to forgive you of your sins. Again, check out Britt Gillette at brittgillette.substack.com. We really appreciate you. Also, if you would check out hopeforourtimes.com and even go to the events page to keep updated on things that we have coming. And we have news that we post every single day on the website, hopeforourtimes.com. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.